I'm not gonna lie. If you could, dude, if you could imagine what I went through the past like half an hour, was paranoid as hell over a sound outside just to find out that I knew the window was open, but it was just a fucking tag hitting a plant. And I was sitting here thinking like something or someone was creeping around outside the fucking window. Dude, like, I was laughing my ass off after I seen that. And I was just like mad at myself because I was like, bruh, you really are dumb as hell. But yeah, this one's gonna take over the Lich one. I want to try the Lich one to get a base for what's gonna happen. So out with the Lich, in with the new Bis, basically. I'm flying at 26, so hopefully I can get through a lot of this. This post part A, then part B later on. How am I gonna do this? Alright, so Deku, as stated, is the son of Anubis. He's not Anubis himself, though he is his son. Therefore, he is next in line to be him. Which means that he will have control, the look over the dead, pretty much. And as such, with that comes responsibility over many things. Too many to name, so don't even bother asking me. I'm too lazy to name them all. But yeah, I'm gonna say, like, after a few couple hundreds of years after Deku's been around, like, Anubis basically wants him to go up to the surface, basically, and see how life is outside. Because, like, he's the ruler over the underworld, therefore, in Egypt. So he would not know how everything is above ground. His son, however, could go up there because he doesn't have the job yet. So, and as such, he would go out every 100 years to see what's going on. And I'm gonna say he didn't go out since like 19. I forget what year it was. I keep forgetting, but I'm gonna say it was 1940, the last time Deku basically went to the surface to see what was going on. And at that time, basically World War was happening, and Deku basically went back down and explained to his dad like, yeah, we're about to get an influx of souls down here due to the World War. And basically, what his dad says like, how bad is it? Like World War One bad with gas, or is it like different? And Deku basically reports on says like, according to what the media says and the new laws, different but the same bullshit basically. What? And then he says, what, Germany? He says, yep. They never learn, do they? And it's like, oh no, it's even worse. Let's see. It says here is ruled by a tyrant, small dick, one ball, like stupid mustache looking guy. And like basically he says, and then he looks through the records of who was going there. Like after a while, he said, yes, his name Adolf. I don't know how to say this. Because I'm trying to avoid many things. But Deku basically says, yeah, that's pretty much it. And he says, okay, he's going to have a fun time here. And I'm going to say that's the last time he went to visit. And mind you, when I say, like, he has, like, rule over souls, I mean he can summon, like, reanimate the dead, basically, too. And yes, Deku can do the same thing. But I'm going to say his is different. Because Deku rule, like, basically Egyptian laws, like, Anubis is basically the ruler over this reality, basically. And there's multiple different ones. And no, I'm not a fucking scientist. But Deku rules over a different one in a fantasy setting. And as such, he basically governs a different plane. And in this plane, there are also many wars that have been fought, and as such, people with power. that he can summon. And mind you, Deku himself isn't like he isn't like unlike his dad. With, I mean, when you're fully grown, like you have incredible strength, fertility, and all that. Deku, however, like lacks the strength because he, as I said, he isn't fully grown. He's still like a couple hundred years short of his full growth. So he's incredibly fast, mobile, but he lacks the strength. To put it in terms, basically he's at like if he was to have one for all, he'd be at 1% of full cow. But his speed would be at like 100, like not even 100%. He'd be like able to keep up with Gran Torino when it comes to a race, and that means he's way faster than Ida. But yeah, I'm gonna continue now. How's my phone at 25? Okay, that's good. And with that being said, I'm basically start it up. Basically, like because he doesn't like in that reality, people and races live a lot longer, so he doesn't have to worry about constantly being there and governing over. So he'd pop into basically this version of Earth from time to time to see what's going on, and as such would leave the underworld there. Like it's not like freaking the show Lucifer where he just like left hell unattended. He has people who basically look over like in his stead because they know like okay nothing really much is gonna happen, so we can just like he can just leave and come back later on. And I would say he visits around where quirks are made. And I'm gonna say this time quirks are made due to like heavy radiation in the atmosphere over, nuclear war. Basically the worst broke out. And when the US hit Japan, yada yada, 100 years later, first quirk baby and all that. He comes back and he hears stories of how people have now has superpowers all over the world. And mind you, he hears this from like his dad, and his dad basically say like, "Hey, if you want to mingle with like human society, you can come in, just like make yourself look human and all that." And he basically says, "Oh," and Deku says like, "Okay," and goes to mingle with human society. Now, upon doing this, he's met with certain guidelines from that. He says, "Okay, first, limit the amount of people you summon. Don't try and kill everything in sight, even though it seems tempting, because I want no more paperwork. And if you are to kill, that's under your jurisdiction, not mine." And Deku says, "But it's in your realm." He says, "Well, they're going to yours." The dead has risen. Alright, I'm back after a pause, because yeah, I'm no longer stopping this shit. I prefer this over fucking the other app. What? Yeah, where'd I leave off? Oh yeah, basically he's heading to the service basically, and as such, like with those set rules, he is now walking among human society. And if you guys wonder what he looks like, picture the Gods of Destruction clothes, like Beerus and Champa's clothes. That's basically what he's wearing, with like gold around his neck and everything. And as such, he can do many things, which is such as fly, hover, and do many things with magic. It is magic. So, yeah, he just has a boundless supply. And by the way, the number that he can summon is basically 3. Basically, Anubis is basically like saying like, yeah, as much as like I know you'll enjoy being in human society and messing around, I can't have you basically just overpowering them and basically becoming like king to them. And Deku says, "Sure, why not?" But yeah, he's walking around looking like a damn god of destruction. But he has black hair. Matter of fact, let me see something. I'm pretty sure I can. Yeah, all right. Let's see. he kind of looks like that, though his hair is black, his eyes are red. That being said, yada yada. Ignore those. That's for a D&D I was planning later on, but yeah. What was like? Oh yeah. So upon this, he basically like walks around for a bit, and he doesn't meet Nezu's more like due to because he's around like 2 years before the whole UA thing. So as such, he's around when All Might's basically at his full strength, or at least I think he's at his full strength. No, he hasn't been at his full strength since Deku was like 4 years old. So I'm gonna say he isn't at his full strength. So right now, like he sees a villain attack happening, and as such, like he basically like because he can't see over the cloud, he basically like floats over and looks like floats. I mean, like levitates up and sees what's going on, and all he sees really sees. I know you have proper grammar, you Western New York dickhead. All he see is like this huge, basically. I said huge. What the fuck? Basically, this villain, not even like a small time robber, basically, and it went bad, and now he's basically holding a hostage. Now, Deku, upon seeing this, he's like, like, I actually see this a lot, and it's displeasing, but I'm gonna deal with it this time because I now free reign. So instead of like letting it go and just him walking among us day, Deku floats down in front of the heroes and the villain. And basically what he does is as he walks, he summons three individuals, which is basically a fighter, a healer, and a rogue, basically. No, there wouldn't even be need for a healer with Deku being there, because he can heal. Because yes, I don't care what anyone says, with death, you can also bring life. Because yes, through death is reincarnation. So he can heal. So basically, he summons basically three, like, how do I say this? In his world, like his religion is like on top of everything. So in this, he summons Hercules. I mean, that's all he summons is Hercules. My bad. I just scratched like two of those. He just summoned Hercules. And as such, Hercules went through and just bodied this man. And all Deku did was just watch. And matter of fact, when Hercules went in to fight like basically the robber, the criminal, Deku basically like floated over and grabbed actually grabbed the hostage. And in that situation, Hercules was still beating the dog shit out of the criminal. And I guess in the middle of it, Hercules would grab him and throw him towards Deku, and Deku basically like would grab him and say the following, Hawkeye, and basically just get rid of him. Like all you see is him turn into like purple dust, and the whole crowd was like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" But basically the whole crowd was like, "Yeah," and like, "Oh shit," to what the fuck? Like he really just Hawkeye? Like they were thinking like he really just destroyed this guy, turned him into particles, hit him with and that was it. I mean, the whole crowd was in awe and or fear because of Deku. And as such, Deku basically like turned around and says, "What? What's wrong with that?" And they say, "You just killed that man." Deku says, "Yeah." The only thing is because he is basically Anubis, so he don't see anything wrong with him getting rid of someone because he said it's in his jurisdiction when he kills someone, so he has to deal with them later on, which he doesn't mind doing. But his society and different societies are different. In his society, if you die in a fight, then you die in a fight. That's a fight. That's it. And nothing happens. It depends on what kind of fight it was. But in this society, you cannot kill. And I mean, you can kill, but he doesn't have a license, for a hero license or any of that. So basically, he just unwarrant murder, basically. And for that, like, I say he. Someone walking around again? Nah. I'm gonna say for that. Basically, the police arrive, and basically Deku's arrested because of that, and he basically says like, what did I do wrong? And they basically just said, you pretty much murdered a villain, and he said, like, what is that wrong to do? And they say, yeah, like very wrong, and he says, oh, okay. And as such, when they review the camera, they showed that he could do many things. Like, they see him float down, like, summon something in Hakai, basically, a villain at the fucking. At the fucking. In the fucking alley where people were watching. And mind you, at first I thought it was just a quirk until they realized that on camera you can see a huge Egyptian, like, a symbol in the middle of Anubis, like, chest, when he basically did that. It was on his back, and it was showing on camera, not in eye, because he held it from eyes, and he didn't know cameras were a thing. So as such, like, they realized that A, this kid isn't normal, B, like, that means that Anubis is real, and C, this kid might be it. And as such, when they basically go, like, because they're in a holding center now, and when they go to meet Deku, they see Deku's out of his freaking handcuffs, and he's basically playing cards against, like, who should I play? He's playing cards against freaking Hercules. I mean, not Hercules. Who'd be a good person to play cards with? I don't know. Fucking hell. I'm gonna say he's basically like playing cards with. I mean, his world is fantasy, so he can bring in anyone. And I'm gonna say he's playing cards with. Fuck a duck. I'm gonna say he's playing cards with Poseidon. Why not? And yes, no, I can't do that. No, why not? He's playing cards with basically Lex Luthor. Why not? Because in that reality, like, you know what I mean. Like, he's summoning characters from all over the place, and no, he cannot summon video game characters because they're not real. Even Marvel characters are not real. You gotta remember, this is my hero, so yeah. And he's from a different reality where superheroes exist. And yes, before anyone says it, yes, like, I can show you in a second. Anubis did make a cameo in Marvel. Matter of fact, let me pause it real quick. See, right there, it proves it. Like, even look, it says Marvel Universe. And I'll pause again. Give me a second. So yeah, basically, like, after showing that, basically, like, he's able to summon many things. I mean, many people, though. Oh, list out the people he can't. Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. He can. I mean, the people who can't summon. Let's see. Superman, Wonder Woman. Basically, any character you can see as broken to hell. As in, like, Martian. No, Martian Manhunter can do, really. Any character who's broken just to absolute hell, no. He can't even summon Shazam. And Shazam isn't even that bad. He was made to, like, beat Superman, but he can't beat him, technically. So. Did someone just text me or something? My screen just. What? Okay, what update? Not even gonna worry about it. Anyway. So yeah, he's basically playing freaking cards with Brainiac. with Brainiac. My bad, I had to change it over time. With Brainiac, and they're sitting here like, the fuck? And he's basically saying, "Oh, you're back," and Brainiac basically just disappears. And like, they basically says, "Before you go, we have to ask you a few questions." He says, "Okay," and he said, "Ask them as honestly as possible." They say, "Okay, where did you come from?" He said, "Egypt." And they said, "Okay, what is your name?" They said, and he basically says, "Deku." And they say, "No, what's your actual name?" Anu. Basically, he didn't finish it because he was like, "Yeah, no, like, I'm not just gonna come out and say Anubis." And for the third and final question, they ask, "What's your quirk?" And and Deku responds to that. He says, "What's a quirk?" And they say, "Super, basically our powers." And he's like, "Oh, many." That's all he says. He said, "If I could list them, we'll be sitting here for like the next 10 minutes." And the police basically were saying like, "Okay, that's enough," and basically release him, but not before they tell like this little incident to the heroes. And word reaches Nezu in about like say a couple hours about this young looking kid whose quirk is pretty off the damn charts. And as such, basically Nezu's goal now is to somehow get in touch with basically Deku and basically try and get him into 1A. Because if Nezu heard about him, every other school hears about basically Deku. And as such, he's trying to be the first person to jump on like the wagon with getting Deku, which is a very hard thing to do because Anu is basically, he starts his job after he leaves the station. He goes right back to where he does his work, which is basically back in fucking where the like in the underworld, basically in his dimension. And when asked how was it, he says it wasn't bad. I mean, it is kind of my fault 'cause I did kind of, Hakai. And his father basically says, "You're like, you aren't dumb, but you aren't the smartest either. You didn't have to Hakai the man." And to that Deku responds, "Okay, but you say he was in my jurisdiction if something did happen." And the news responded back, "You caused that to happen. He just didn't walk up to you and try to kill you. You killed him, pretty much." And for that, I'm gonna say this: like, I will not allow you to Hakai anyone unless it's proven absolutely worth it. As in, say if you face someone who's massacred way too many people, and then basically both of them coughed, and they're like, "Yeah," like because they both remember what happened 100 years back, and they say, "Yeah," to that, that's and basically for the next year, he spends his time in the underworld in a different dimension. I mean, I'm talking Deku, that is. Basically, just sitting there chilling, and basically, he goes back to mingle with human society. And as such, he is met with many things about how a hero, basically a young hero, basically like disappeared for 2 years. Could have been the best hero of all time. Yada yada. Basically, a hype train to Deku. And mind you, he reappears after 2 years when he's like 14, around the time the UA exam is. And as such, everyone knows who Deku is based off of looks. Because, popularity spreads fast, even though it's 2 years old. So upon him coming back, they're basically like letting the world know like he's returned. And though many schools try to bum rush him, Nezu's school gets there first and basically asked him like, "Oh, can you basically come to this recommendation thing and try to get into our school?" And Deku basically asks like, "What the fuck is a school?" He says basically a place where we can make you a hero. And Mind you, Deku hears about heroes all the time because, they constantly die or they survive and die later on. So he meets them. He basically says, like, sure, even though I'm not much for hero work. Eh, that happens. Because he goes to recommendation test, nothing much really happens besides, basic stuff I do in recommendation tests. I'm gonna say he gets good in everything except for the strength test, because his strength is a lot lower than usual, so he's at like a regular freaking, at his, like, he's at a human, like, he's just as strong as your average human, honestly, in when it comes to physical strength. But everything else, he's above, like, way beyond human. And as such, it should be treated that way. And I'm gonna say, like, because it's hard to give Deku news, so his father just tells him that, know what, you just stay here, and you can basically, like, radio in with pharmaceutical government, your, area can let you know if something stupid goes down. And Deku basically accepts to that and says, alright, well, because I know I passed, I'm gonna just get the letter and then I'm gonna go back, do my work, then go to school. And yes, he was accepted in the 1A. And here's where I'm gonna leave it off. This is part 1 of this series. Because, honestly, I'm tired, and I was gonna do my last new one. Hopefully, last new one, I'm not sure. But yeah, I reached over 100. Thank you, I'm glad. I finally reached over 100 and passed an old friend of mine. But now me and him are in an arms race, kinda, as soon as he gets back into uploading. He just didn't have the time to. I thought he was done, but I guess he came back and said, like, I ain't done yet. But yeah, I leave you guys off here, and peace. As soon as I can figure out how to pause or stop it.